Chaps. We'll get the hello, and welcome to another episode of Careers and Coffee. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome on board. We've got three folk from Burgess. Ben, and they're going to be talking to us today about careers in Agri-tech, which is very different from when I was a youngster. When I was a youngster, it was just agriculture, and agriculture basically meant: do you plant things? Do you ride a tractor? Or do you fix them? Not really a great deal more to it than that. It's a completely different field and very exciting, with lots of new and innovative, if you can say that word, technology. So I'd like to welcome Michael, Callum and Rebecca from Burgess. Nice of you to join us today.
Happy to be here.
That's great. So yes, and we like the branding. We've got the Burgess logo. I don't know if the viewers can quite see the Burgess tie and the shirts, but it's great. So Michael, if we can start with you as the group HR manager, can you tell us a little bit about what Agri-tech is all about at the moment, and what your job looks like?
Certainly. So, like you say, the technology, the innovation within our industry has come on incredibly over the last decade and more recently in the last few years. Some of the technology that our customers employ is truly advanced. We're only really starting to see some of that come and trickle down into other industries. So, for example, autonomous driving technology, agriculture's had that for 8 years now. It's something, or 8 to 10 years. For us, we're now only just seeing that coming into cars, etc. So for our customers, they can employ some great technology, which really helps them become more efficient, more productive at what they're doing, and ultimately makes their life easier. So from my point of view, my background, I joined the industry when I joined Burgess. So I joined the company 3 years ago now. Before that, I'd had 10, 15 years in HR in other industries, technology, manufacturing, and civil engineering, to name a few. It was the first time I've ever experienced the agricultural farming community, and it has been a real eye-opener to see some of that technology, to see some of the work that's going on, some of the products and services that companies like ours offer. It opened up a whole new world. I didn't know that there was all of that in existence, in all honesty.
I thought it was actually amazing. I saw one of your when one of my schools was looking for some information about Agri-tech, and you sent me that video about I think it might even be based in America, but it's basically about a family who have massive amounts of arable land, and they're doing planting, and the technology actually even enables them to know which fields need water, which fields need fertilizer, and they can get a message through to the actual tractor driver, who's so much more than a tractor driver, to actually work out where they need to be and how much. It's an absolutely fantastic little video that really highlights the way the technology is used and how exciting it is, actually.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. And I think, that video just highlights, like you say, that there are technology. And it's not just about the machinery, it's about the solutions they can employ, the software that they can employ, and it all talks together really nicely, so the farmer has a complete vision of what is, going on his land or her land. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we've got Callum and Rebecca, who are just starting out in their careers in Agri-tech. So if we can start with Rebecca. You've actually been with Burgess for just a very short time, haven't you?
Yeah,
so how did you, when you were at school, if we start from when you were at school, did you know what you wanted to do? Did you know you wanted to go into Agri-tech, or how did it come about?
I knew vaguely. So I'm coming from a farming background, so I was growing up within the industry, and we've been customers of Burgess for over 50 years. So I've known the company for quite a while, but originally I never thought of going down the Agri-tech route. I wanted to go down crop science, but then getting put into quite, I suppose, like COVID and everything, and there wasn't a lot of job roles going, but I knew I wanted to stay within agriculture. And being at school, no one really knows what they want to do when they're in school, but I guess until you're put into a situation, you don't really know what's going to come up. And when this job opportunity came up, I sort of grabbed it because it did appeal to me, and yeah, I wanted to work within the industry, which could take me somewhere where I didn't think I was going to end up going about 7 years ago.
So you're an apprentice, aren't you? No, you're a trainee. Sorry, you're not an apprentice.
I'm
You're a
training.
trainee. And you work on the sales and admin side. But one of the things that when we were chatting the other day that I thought was really cool is the fact that with most sales and admin roles, they don't actually get to play with the toys. You actually do, don't you? You actually
it is quite a hands-on job, which I didn't think it would be when I first applied. I thought I'd be doing more office-based work and then working into sales repping. But yeah, I do get to go out, get hands-on with the machines, drive them, take them to customers, hand them over to customers, check them before they go out, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm pleased that I get to be hands-on and not just stuck behind a desk every day, because I live on a farm, I drive our equipment at home, so to still be a part of that whilst also having those desk duties, it just brings a bit more of an adventure to the day, I suppose. You don't really know necessarily what you're going to be doing, but it's nice to be able to get out and talk to people and customers and get that connection as well.
And you get involved in other aspects of life at Ben Burgess as well, don't you? In terms of like helping out with training and things like this.
Yeah. So I've been to a careers fair with the marketing team as well, and get to go to different machinery shows. We've had a couple so far this year, but obviously things were only opening up again, so it's been nice to be involved in that now that we have the opportunity to go to places and speak to people. So yeah, it does offer a lot of out of office opportunities.
Excellent. And Callum, you are a Ben Burgess apprentice.
Yeah, that's right.
And your apprenticeship is in agricultural engineering.
Yeah.
So you're in your third year, is that right?
Yeah, third. I've been here for 3 years, so I've done 2 years at college so far, and I've got another year of that. But in terms of actually in the industry, I've had 3 years at Ben Burgess now.
So how did you? Are you from a farming or an agricultural background as well, like Rebecca?
No, not at all. I didn't even really know anything about farming when I was at school.
But you're obviously a hardy lad in your shorts.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, I didn't have anything to do with farming. I just, just something come up, and I saw it, and I like the idea of it. So,
did you get any kind of, like, when you were at school, did you get any careers advice about Agri-tech and what it might look like? I mean, what actually attracted you to it?
To be honest with you, there wasn't really anything that sort of come to me. I sort of almost went to it, and that's when I sort of found I wanted to do it, and the thing is, there's so much variety in this industry compared to other industries. There's not a day that goes by that's the same as the other day. So that's what sets it aside from other industries.
So what's a typical day look like for you?
Well, that's what I mean. You can't say a typical day. There isn't a typical day, because it could be anything. That you can have quiet days, you can have really busy days, you can have sort of in between. And
what sort of things would you actually be doing? Like, for instance, before you got dragged into this today, what were you up to?
Well, so I was servicing 2 tractors, which were on a service plan. So obviously, changing all the filters, engine oil, hydraulic filters, and just generally checking the machine over. This time of year, it's generally more that sort of stuff than
maintenance.
Repair. Yeah. But sort of harvest time, when things are working hard, they tend to break more often, and it could be an engine rebuild, it could be a gearbox rebuild. That means having the cab off and all sorts of stuff. So there is so much opportunity.
So in terms of somebody who's watching this now, who's at school, and they're actually thinking, well, I wonder whether agri-tech is actually for me. What would you say? What would you think would be, for any of you, what would you think would be the best thing to do?
So if it depends what they're sort of looking for. If someone isn't very academic, doesn't like sitting in an office, this is the job for them, because there is so much hands-on work, and it depends what they're looking for, really.
And also there are opportunities also for people who are academic as well, aren't they? For instance, degree apprenticeships, and you can go on to do sort of quite high level apprenticeships as well, level 6 as well. So and what would you say would be what in terms of the variety that's available within the industry? If somebody wanted to find out about all those different opportunities and the different variety that's there, what would you say would be the best way to sort of go about it? Maybe Michael could.
I think work experience is the best way that I found. I went to college first, done a year, and I had to do work experience for that, and I found that doing the work experience here at Ben Burgess meant that I could get a real experience of the sort of industry, and that helped me quite a lot.
I think that's right. I think coming somewhere like Ben Burgess, you get to see that we're a large business now. We employ 265 people. We have all of the job roles you would expect in an organisation that size: accounts, marketing, IT, HR. As well as our engineering and sales. So coming and actually experiencing it at Ben Burgess, we were open to people coming and seeing what it's all about. We encourage people to come in. We have open showrooms, so people can come and visit anytime during our opening hours. But if they're interested in the work experience or something specifically and looking into that, they can always come and speak to one of our colleagues and find out a bit more about it, arrange some work experience, or come and just have a look around and just understand a little bit more about what's involved in our industry or in our business. And as well, like for me, maybe for yourself, Callum, as well, it opens up your eyes to what job roles exist in the wider industry. Rebecca talked about her interests previously and what she thought she might want to do. I knew nothing about that before I came here, and you learn about those things as you're part of this organisation.
And of course, and within agri-tech, there are so many different roles. I mean, like, people think of agriculture, they don't necessarily think that you're going to need somebody, doing your role, like as in, an HR manager. And so that's, there are so many different, for every business, there are lots and lots of different roles, aren't there? So if you've got a particular interest, there's probably a job in that sector that might be of interest to you personally. In terms of, like, for instance, how do you see the future of agri-tech and developments going on?
So I think from our point of view, we touched on it earlier, the technology piece is going to be a massive change from our point of view in our industry. The technology that's being employed in the machinery nowadays and what's on the horizon is going to change what we do. Things like our ability to offer remote support, so not actually having to be out on farm and to fix the machine, being able to do that remotely through technology, software, over-the-air updates type thing. That's going to change what we do. We employ as a business now 7 people who are purely employed to look after that technology piece. We call it precision ag. But that's something that's grown over the number of years. Over the last couple of years, we've employed more and more people in that team, and it's looking like to grow again very soon. So that's going to be an interesting development to see how that changes what we do in our industry.
So if somebody's interested in learning more about precision ag, for instance, what kind of qualifications would they need to get into the role?
Yeah, so a lot of our roles require your kind of core GCSEs, science, IT, that kind of thing. For precision ag, for our colleagues in precision ag, a lot of their career pathways have taken them either through a similar route to Callum or Rebecca, to be fair, whether they've come in and joined our business through at the workshop or through sales. They've then shown a flair for the technology and getting the most out of it, and their ability to offer a great service. So then they've gone down that pathway. And it's something hopefully we can develop in the future as well, potentially new pathways into that from a maybe a school leaver point of view. But there's a great way to come in is the route that Callum's come in, for example.
Yes, because I suppose the good thing is as well is that you can start off coming straight from school with maybe not so many qualifications and do the training while you're there, or you could actually go to do higher level qualifications and actually get a degree and even come in through that way. I mean, if you were to go to university, what would be perhaps the options available to you once you had a degree?
Yes, a lot of our roles have the kind of roots, if you're coming from a degree point of view. We for example, we talked about precision ag, that's something that maybe you've got a degree, maybe in something agricultural related, or potentially something to do with sciences or IT. All of these kind of degrees would relate back to what they're trying to do within that team. Obviously, you've got some of the wider professions like accounting, marketing, that kind of thing. Lots of our colleagues have degree level qualifications for that, or have gone down the university route and entered into those roles through that way. So, like many businesses, we have all of those kind of similar type roles, which is great.
And so I'm going to be mean now and say to you, so what's been your best day on the job so far? And then I'm going to ask you what's been your worst. What's the sort of worst scenario you've had to deal with?
I'll go first if you like. So, I mean, for me, it's not one single day, but a big part of what I do involves recruitment. So I get to be involved in recruiting people into the business, and any day that you're offering someone a job, whether it's an apprenticeship, whether it's a brand new job, a change of career, for example, that feels like a good day because you're ultimately potentially changing someone's life, which is really exciting. It's a big life changing jobs. Worst days, lots of days can be pretty tough sometimes. I'm personally not a fan of administration, which is something I shouldn't say in HR. Any day where I'm stuck behind my desk too frequently doing administration, I don't tend to enjoy those days too much. I enjoy days like this where we're talking and we're engaging with our colleagues and people.
Yeah, I agree with that. Saying that.
No one likes admin.
Yeah, I miss the days when we used to have really clever people who are really good at doing admin and having secretaries, but that's a different conversation. But now I can completely appreciate that. So Rebecca, what would you say would be your sort of best and worst day so far?
So best day, I think, well, as a whole, I do enjoy my job. I like being able to get out there, but I suppose if I had to narrow it down to one day, it would be when I went to one of the machinery shows. I'd probably only been here a few weeks, probably less than a month, and I got to drive one of the new series of tractors, ARX, which I've never driven before, never really driven big machines because we've got fairly small tractors on our farm and very low tech, standard kind of manual gearbox, and this is completely off the grid. It's all automatic. You barely have to touch anything, and it's a very big bit of kit. And so to be able to have a go at driving that was I would never have been given that opportunity to do that before. If I was just sort of stayed at home on the farm, we would never have kit like that. So to be given that opportunity to operate a piece of machinery like that was definitely a highlight at such an early stage of the job. And that's the thing with here, they do give you opportunities, they do push you out of your comfort zone to try different things, and that might take you down an even different route. You could start in one area and end up in another, but so yeah, that was definitely a highlight. Worst day, I suppose, was probably like within the first week, just because I've never done admin anything before. I went to uni and college and studied agriculture for 4 years, and I've never did administration or had sort of responsibilities of doing invoices. I wasn't very I did well at school, but maths was not a strong point. I did have to retake it twice. And so to be thrown into the deep end of, having these responsibilities of doing admin stuff, it was hard, and trying to pick up all the different systems, it was quite testing. So I felt like I had to, get it right, but it does take time. But yeah, I suppose I've not had a particularly terribly bad day, but I think that first initiation of coming into a whole new sector that you have no clue in, it does, put you on edge a bit, and you want to please everyone and you want to do well and show that you're competent, but it might not. It takes time.
That's actually a really, really good message, though, isn't it? Because I think I don't think it's something that necessarily we're all particularly good at talking about. But when you have those kind of new situations, I think whatever age you are and however long you've been working, it's still nerve-wracking. But it's actually a really good way to sort of when you get pushed out of your comfort zone like that and you come through it and you make mistakes along the way and you learn from them, it's actually really good life skills, isn't it? And it's a really good way to help build your resilience, which at the end of the day will make you a much better human and a much better employee. So, thank you for sharing that with us, Rebecca. And Callum, I think we're actually almost out of time, but just very quickly, if we can ask you what your best and worst days are.
See, I think the best days for me are sort of middle of harvest, when everyone's sort of rushing about and the adrenaline's there and the customer's waiting for their machine and you've got to repair it. So and one particular was when a gearbox had sort of blown up, if you like, in the middle of the harvest, and we're in a field trying to work out how we were going to remove a gearbox that's sort of 250 kilos from the middle of the combine with not a lot to use, and it's just that sort of adrenaline and that thinking process, problem solving that I find enjoyable, I think. And for a sort of worst day, there isn't very many bad days, but I would say when you're working in a farmyard and the job's not very interesting and you're covered in mud and potentially poo sometimes, depending on where it is, they're probably the bad days, but even they're not bad. So I would say, so that's
it's good. That's great. And having my father-in-law myself, who is a farmer, I know what you mean about when the tractor goes down and the pressure's on to actually get it fixed and get it up and running again. So that's brilliant. So very quickly, if say, for instance, one final question, Michael, if I can just say to you, if you were sort of like going to have an opportunity to give yourself, your 15-year-old self, some careers advice, what would you say?
I think the advice I'd give myself that age, especially when thinking about careers, is the one that many people I'm sure have heard before, is that I didn't know what I wanted to do at 15, and I should you have to almost trust yourself and know that you will find something. If you don't know at 15, it doesn't matter. I didn't think at 15 years old I'd be working in HR. Let's put it that way. My 15-year-old self would not have thought I'd be sitting here in HR. So I think I would advise myself to allow myself to explore options, trust that I will find something that I enjoy doing, and not worry about it to the extent that I think some people, including myself, did at 15 years old.
Excellent. That's super. That's a great way to end. So thank you very much for joining us today. So hopefully that's given people some insight into Agri-tech and the future opportunities and current opportunities there are. And in fact, in Ben Burgess, you've got how many offices around now?
There's seven sites across the east of England.
Yeah, so lots of opportunities for people coming from different areas. So that's great. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.